Let me start with a question that might shake you awake. Why is it that you know what to do? You understand what needs to change. You want a better life more than anything. Yet something inside you hesitates, freezes, procrastinates, or self-destructs the moment change demands action. It's not laziness. It's not lack of intelligence. It's not a motivation problem. It's a neurology problem. Right now, your life is being shaped by patterns that were installed long before you consciously chose them. Your brain, your nervous system, and your emotional responses are running programs designed for survival, not success. And unless those programs are upgraded, no amount of positive thinking will save you. That's what Neuro Transformation Therapy is about, not hype, not slogans, but rewiring the system that runs you. Most people spend their entire life trying to change their behavior without ever understanding what actually drives behavior. They think if they want it badly enough, push hard enough, or discipline themselves longer, change will happen. And when it doesn't, they blame themselves. They call themselves weak, inconsistent, lazy, broken. That belief alone destroys more human potential than failure ever could. Truth is far more empowering. Human behavior is not controlled by logic. It is controlled by the nervous system. Your nervous system is the command center of your existence. It decides what feels safe, what feels dangerous, what feels exciting, and what feels overwhelming before your conscious mind ever gets a vote. By the time you're thinking about a decision, your body has already reacted. This is why you can consciously want success while unconsciously sabotaging it. This is why you can desire confidence while your body tightens in fear. This is why you can promise change while your nervous system slams the brakes. Your nervous system was designed for survival. Thousands of years ago, that meant avoiding predators and physical danger. Today, it means avoiding emotional pain, rejection, embarrassment, failure, abandonment, shame. The nervous system does not distinguish between a physical threat and an emotional one. To the brain, both are danger. At some point in your life, you experienced moments that taught your nervous system powerful lessons. Maybe you spoke up and were humiliated. Maybe you trusted and were betrayed. Maybe you tried and failed publicly. Maybe love cost you pain. In those moments, your nervous system adapted. It learned strategies to keep you safe. Those strategies became patterns: avoidance, perfectionism, people-pleasing, procrastination, anger, emotional numbness. None of these are character flaws. They are protective responses. The tragedy is that what once protected you now limits you. Your nervous system is constantly scanning your environment, asking one question: am I safe? When growth feels unfamiliar, the answer is no. And when the answer is no, your body reacts instantly: tight chest, shallow breathing, racing thoughts, self-doubt, distraction. This happens so fast that most people think it's their personality. It's not who you are. It's how you were conditioned. This is why willpower fails. Willpower is conscious effort. The nervous system is unconscious automation. When the two collide, automation wins every time. Think about how many times you've tried to force yourself to act confident, disciplined, or courageous only to feel drained, anxious, or overwhelmed. That's because forcing change without regulating the nervous system creates internal resistance. You're fighting your own biology. Neuro Transformation Therapy flips the entire model. Instead of asking, how do I force myself to change? It asks, how do I teach my nervous system that change is safe? When safety is established at the neurological level, behavior changes naturally, effort drops, resistance disappears. Action becomes automatic. This is where most self-help gets it wrong. Information alone does not rewire the brain. Insight alone does not change identity. The nervous system learns through experience, not explanation. That's why emotionally charged moments shape us for life. Trauma isn't remembered because of logic. It's remembered because of emotion. The same mechanism that locks in trauma can lock in transformation. When you repeatedly experience strength instead of fear, when your body feels grounded while facing challenge, when your nervous system stays regulated under pressure, new neural pathways form. This is neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on experience. Once the nervous system learns that discomfort does not equal danger, everything changes. Growth stops triggering fear. Uncertainty stops causing paralysis. Challenges stop feeling threatening. This is the difference between people who rise under pressure and people who collapse. It's not mindset, it's nervous system capacity. Strong nervous systems interpret stress as stimulation. Weakly regulated ones interpret it as threat. When your nervous system is trained, you can feel fear without being controlled by it. You can feel discomfort without escaping it. You can feel pressure without shutting down. That is real power. This is why two people can face the same problem and respond completely differently. One panics, one performs. The difference is regulation. Once you learn to regulate your nervous system, you gain access to states of peak performance on demand. Confidence becomes a state, not a personality trait. Focus becomes available under chaos. Emotional resilience becomes your baseline. At that point, discipline is no longer something you force, it's something you express. Action aligns with identity. Growth feels natural. This is why Neuro Transformation Therapy is not about fixing you. You were never broken. It's about upgrading the system running you. Your past does not control you. Your trauma does not define you. Your nervous system can be trained just like a muscle. And when it is, your life expands to match its capacity. Every emotion you feel today has a history. Fear didn't appear randomly. Confidence didn't disappear overnight. Your emotional reactions were trained into you moment by moment, experience by experience, long before you ever labeled them. The brain does not record life as facts. It records life as feelings. Whatever emotion was strongest in a moment became the lesson. And once an emotion is linked to an experience, your nervous system stores it as truth. That means your reactions today are not happening in the present. They're echoes of the past. When something triggers you, you're not responding to what's happening. You're responding to what once happened. Your body reacts as if time collapsed. Amy tension, same fear, same shutdown, different situation. This is why people say, I don't know why I overreact. This is why smart people repeat self-destructive patterns. This is why logic loses to emotion every single time. Because emotional patterns are procedural memory, not conscious choice. The powerful part is this: anything learned emotionally can be unlearned emotionally. Neuro Transformation Therapy doesn't suppress emotions, it retrains them. Instead of trying to control reactions, it changes the meaning your nervous system assigns to experiences. When the meaning changes, the emotional response changes automatically. Once fear loses its emotional charge, it stops controlling behavior. Once shame dissolves, confidence emerges without effort. You don't fight the old pattern, you outgrow it. That's when freedom begins. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. Identity is not what you say you are. It's what your nervous system expects you to be. If your identity is I'm the one who struggles, you will unconsciously recreate struggle. If your identity is I'm the one who survives, you will tolerate pain instead of eliminating it. If your identity is I'm powerful, your nervous system searches for solutions under pressure. Most people try to change habits without changing identity. That never lasts. Why? Because identity always wins. Neuro Transformation Therapy upgrades identity from the inside out. When the nerve system repeatedly experiences certainty, strength, and agency, identity shifts automatically, not through affirmations but through embodiment. Once identity updates, behavior becomes effortless. You don't need discipline to act in alignment with who you believe you are. You don't debate action, you express it. That's when change becomes permanent. Pain and pleasure are the two invisible forces directing every human life. No matter how complex, spiritual, intellectual, or logical we believe ourselves to be, every decision we make is filtered through one unconscious question: will this lead to pain or will it lead to pleasure? This question is not asked consciously. It is asked instantly, automatically, and emotionally by the nervous system. You don't decide your future with logic. You decide it with conditioning. From the moment you were born, your brain began associating experiences with emotional consequences. Certain actions brought approval, love, relief, or safety. Others brought embarrassment, rejection, punishment, or loss. Over time, your nervous system built a map of what to seek and what to avoid. That map is now running your life. This is why people repeatedly make decisions they know are bad for them. This is why people avoid actions they know would change everything. It is never because they don't understand the consequences. It is because their nervous system has linked those actions to emotional pain or emotional reward. If speaking up once led to humiliation, the nervous system associated self-expression with pain. Years later, even when the environment is safe, the body still reacts as if danger is present. If avoiding conflict once brought relief, avoidance becomes pleasurable. If procrastination reduced anxiety, procrastination becomes rewarding. The nervous system does not care about long-term outcomes. It cares about immediate emotional survival. This is where most people get trapped. They intellectually associate success with pleasure, but emotionally associate it with pain. Success may mean pressure, responsibility, visibility, judgment, or failure. So even though they want success, their nervous system avoids it. Comfort, familiarity. and staying the same may intellectually feel limiting, but emotionally they feel safe. And safety beats growth every time when the nervous system is untrained. This is why motivation is unreliable. Motivation is a conscious attempt to override unconscious conditioning. It works temporarily, but it always fades. When motivation disappears, conditioning takes over. And conditioning always wins. High performers are not more motivated than others. They are differently conditioned. They have trained their nervous system to associate action with pleasure and avoidance with pain. Discipline does not feel like suffering to them. It feels like identity. Challenge does not feel threatening. It feels energizing. Pressure does not feel overwhelming. It feels activating. This is not personality. Tide is conditioning. Most people have the conditioning backwards. They associate short-term comfort with pleasure and long-term growth with pain. So scrolling feels good, avoiding feels good, delaying feels good. Meanwhile, effort feels heavy, discomfort feels threatening, and uncertainty feels dangerous. This creates a life of stagnation that feels emotionally justified. Neuro Transformation Therapy rewires this system. Deliberately, instead of trying to force better decisions, it retrains the nervous system's reward system. When taking action is paired with pride, strength, self-respect, and emotional satisfaction, the nervous system begins to crave growth. When avoidance is paired with awareness of regret, stagnation, and emotional cost, the nervous system begins to reject it. This shift is subtle but profound. The person does not need to try harder. Their impulses change. Their instincts change. Their default reactions change. This is the difference between someone who has to push themselves to work out and someone who feels off when they don't. This is the difference between someone who forces discipline and someone who feels discomfort when they break their standards. One is operating on willpower. The other is operating on conditioning when pain and pleasure are rewired. Behavior becomes automatic. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop overthinking decisions. You stop relying on inspiration. You move when it's time to move because not moving feels whoa. RSE. Growth stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like alignment. This is also why relapse disappears when conditioning is correct. People don't relapse because they are weak. They relapse because the old behavior is still emotionally rewarding. Once the reward is gone, the behavior collapses on its own. This is not about punishment. It is about awareness and association. When the nervous system learns that staying small costs more emotionally than stepping forward, it chooses expansion. When it learns that avoidance creates more discomfort than action, it chooses courage. When it learns that discipline produces more pleasure than indulgence, discipline becomes natural at that point. Success is no longer something you chase. It is something your nervous system pulls you toward. This is why true transformation feels effortless from the outside. People assume discipline. They assume confidence. They assume talent. What they are witnessing is correct conditioning. When pain and pleasure are aligned with your highest values, your nervous system becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Your biology starts working for you instead of against you. And this is the final truth. Your life is not shaped by what you want. It is shaped by what your nervous system is conditioned to seek and avoid. Change the conditioning, and every decision changes with it. That is the power of pain and pleasure mastery. Nothing in your life changed in a single moment. It changed through repetition. Repetition of thoughts, repetition of emotions, repetition of behaviors. And the reason some experiences shape you for decades while others fade within hours has nothing to do with importance and everything to do with emotion. The brain does not remember what happened. It remembers how it felt. Emotion is the glue that binds experience to identity. The stronger the emotion, the deeper the wiring. This is why a single moment of intense fear can shape a person for life, while years of mild positive thinking can change almost nothing. The nervous system prioritizes emotionally charged experiences because, from a survival perspective, they matter most. This is how trauma forms, and it is also how transformation becomes permanent. Most people assume their patterns are fixed. They believe confidence, fear, resilience, or self-doubt are personality traits. They are not. They are neurological habits strengthened through emotionally reinforced repetition. The brain wires what it experiences most often with the greatest intensity. Every time you react the same way to a situation, you strengthen that neural pathway. Every time you avoid discomfort, the avoidance pattern grows stronger. Every time you shut down under pressure, your nervous system learns that pressure equals danger. Over time, these patterns become automatic. You no longer choose them. They choose you. This is why insight alone does not change people. Understanding a pattern does not dismantle it. The BIA, AIN, does not rewire through awareness. It rewires through experience. Neuro Transformation Therapy works because it uses the same biological mechanism that created the problem to create the solution. It does not try to erase the past. It builds a stronger present. When a person repeatedly experiences challenge while remaining regulated, grounded, and emotionally present, the nervous system updates its expectation. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable. What once triggered fear begins to trigger focus. What once caused shutdown begins to activate strength. At first, the nervous system resists. Old patterns fight to survive because they are familiar. But with enough emotionally regulated repetition, the old wiring weakens. The new pattern gains dominance. Eventually, the brain defaults to the stronger circuit. This is not philosophy. This is neuroplasticity. The brain is constantly reshaping itself based on what you repeatedly experience with emotion. If fear is rehearsed daily, fear becomes identity. If confidence is rehearsed emotionally, confidence becomes baseline. If self-respect is practiced under pressure, standards rise automatically. This is why people relapse when transformation is only intellectual. They know better, but under stress, the nervous system reverts to the strongest emotional pattern. Stress does not create behavior. It reveals the deepest conditioning. Permanent change required. Training under emotional load, neurotransformation, and therapy intentionally introduces repetition in moments that matter when the nervous system is activated, when pressure is present, when old patterns would normally take over. Instead of avoiding these moments, they are used as training grounds. Regulation is practiced where it counts. Over time, the nervous system learns a new truth. Discomfort does not equal danger. Emotion does not equal loss of control. Pressure does not equal collapse. This is how resilience is built. Not by avoiding difficulty, but by experiencing difficulty without breaking. Emotion accelerates this process. When new behaviors are paired with pride, certainty, empowerment, and self-trust, the brain locks them in. Positive emotion is not about feeling good. It is about marking experiences as valuable. This is why repetition without emotion creates boredom, not change. And emotion without repetition creates intensity, not stability. Permanent transformation requires both. Repetition creates familiarity, emotion creates importance. Together, they create identity. At a certain point, the new pattern no longer feels like effort. It feels like who you are. The nervous system stops reaching for the old behavior because it no longer feels safe, familiar, or rewarding. Relapse disappears because the brain does not abandon a stronger pattern for a weaker one. This is when discipline becomes irrelevant. You do not discipline yourself to be who you believe you are. You express it. This is why truly transformed people look effortless. They are not resisting themselves. Their nervous system is aligned with their goals. Their emotional patterns support their future instead of protecting their past. The most powerful realization is this: you are always training your nervous system, whether you are intentional or not. Every reaction you repeat, every emotion you rehearse, every behavior you reinforce is shaping your future identity. Neuro Transformation Therapy simply makes this process conscious. It takes the randomness out of change. It takes the struggle out of growth. It takes the fight out of self-improvement. When repetition and emotion are aligned with your highest standards, transformation becomes inevitable. And once the nervous system is trained at this level, change is no longer something you try to maintain. It is something you live. That is permanent neurological change.